The beginning. I just started my senior year in high school. The only things that were on my mind were catching up with friends about their summer adventures and focusing on conditioning for the upcoming basketball season. I had just turned 17 a few months ago, but I was told on many occasions that I looked older. I can honestly say that I was not as particularly interested in guys as my female peers. It was after 3 o'clock now, and I was on the bus that dropped us off in front of our upper middle class community. It stopped at its regularly scheduled destination, which landed us in front of the slummy apartments that sat directly across from my deed-restricted suburb. These two separate neighborhoods were divided by only a newly paved 4-lane road. Our stop was the first to be picked up in the morning on the way to school and the last for the driver in the afternoon. I had gym last period today, so I decided not to dress back into my regular school clothes. I was wearing a black t-shirt, navy blue shorts, and my black and navy sneakers. When I got off the bus, I was in my own world vibing to one of my favorite songs on my iPod. As I walked, I was thinking about how fast I could get home and do my homework so that I would be able to go outside and shoot some hoops. Suddenly and without warning, an unfamiliar voice broke me from my thoughts. I turned around slowly to see who was trying to get my attention. His name was Josiah Hunter. Over the summer, I'd spent considerable amounts of time at my best friend Janae's house. Janae, who we all referred to as JJ, had been my best friend for as long as I can remember. JJ and Josiah lived in the same neighborhood, but a couple of streets away from each other. On several occasions when I was at JJ's house, I saw Josiah outside. I'd never really spoken to him, though. He just kind of appeared at times when we were all outside chillin'. In fact, I had never heard him say anything before. He was always the quiet, mysterious guy. One of JJ's other friends that lived in that neighborhood had a crush on him, so I nobly deemed him off limits. I snapped back from my daydream to the current time when he said something inaudibly to me. My primal instinct and fear of being kidnapped kicked in, so I just turned around and kept walking, which apparently didn't deter him from trying to initiate a conversation.
Hey, excuse me?
What can I do for you? I replied testily, pulling my headphones down to rest on my neck.
Do you know where the PAL is?
Next street over, I said and kept walking. Josiah laughed off his obvious embarrassment and tried a different approach.
Hey, wait, don't I know you?
Yes, and I know you, Josiah. My nonchalant attitude took him by surprise.
Hailey, isn't it? You're friends with Janae, right?
He asked quizzically. Uh-huh, I answered calmly, even though I really wanted to jump out my skin when I learned that Josiah Hunter knew my name. He asked for my phone number, so I gave it to him. I wrote my house number down on a scrap piece of paper and hoped he would call soon. I floated on cloud 9 the whole way home. When I got home, I walked into my house and ran to the kitchen. There was a white corded phone that hung on the wall. It was the only phone in the house that had caller ID. To my dismay, Josiah had not called in the 5 minutes it took me to walk the rest of the way home. I decided to go to my room and do my homework so that I could go outside before it got dark. Several hours later, I jumped up from my bed as if I'd been electrocuted and realized it was 7 o'clock. I must have fallen asleep while studying. I rubbed my growling stomach and decided to walk downstairs to see what my mom was making for dinner. When I got to the kitchen, my sister Hannah was standing there on the phone as usual.
Someone called for you while you were asleep,
Hannah told me in between conversation with whoever was on the phone. Who was it? I asked drowsily. She gave me a dumbfounded look and shrugged her shoulders. Was it Josiah? I asked with more enthusiasm.
Maybe,
she said, looking up as if she were searching her brain for a name. I swiftly snatched the telephone right out of her hands and hung up on whoever she was talking to. I pressed the caller ID arrows with such urgency a bystander would have thought it were a bomb that was about to explode. Unfortunately for me, Hannah had been on the phone when he called, so his number did not pop up on the caller log. I was so mad at myself. I could not believe that I had missed Josiah's call. I was so bummed out that I just went back upstairs without even eating dinner. Saturday morning, I slept in with no regard for time. I got up late and went outside to find my neighborhood friends to hang out. It was about 11 when I left that morning, and I did not come back home until well after 6 that evening. When I walked in, I could smell my own musk from dancing, running, and shooting hoops in the 90-degree Florida weather for the last 6 hours.
You smell like a barnyard animal.
Hannah was a girly girl. She wore makeup, high heels, and dresses. I heard the phone ring, but I was too hungry and busy arguing with Hannah to care.
A guy named Joey just called for you, Hailey.
My mom informed me as she joined us at the table. I jumped up from the table so fast that I almost knocked the chair over.
Excuse me, you need to eat before you call him back.
I was a good kid, so I scarfed my food down as fast as humanly possible and raced to the kitchen. The last time he called, I missed it, so I had to pray that the caller's ID saved his number this time. I jumped up and down with excitement when I scrolled through and found it on the display. There was a magnetic grocery pad hanging on the refrigerator, so I ripped a sheet of paper off. As I did, the whole thing went flying across the kitchen. I wrote down his phone number and gripped that little piece of paper as if it held the winning lottery numbers. I ran upstairs to call him back in the privacy of my own room. The longer it rang, the more nervous I got. He didn't answer. I hung up feeling defeated and somewhat relieved at the same time. I decided to take a shower and go to sleep. The next day I carried on as normal. I decided to wait for him to call me, convincing myself that if I called him again, I would appear desperate. I was going to the bathroom downstairs when I heard the house phone start to ring. I was the only one home, so I wiped quickly and sprinted towards the kitchen with my sweatpants still around my ankles. I answered casually, but when I heard his voice, my heart started beating frantically.
Hailey?
Yes, who's this? I asked, even though I already knew it was Josiah.
Hey, this is Joey. I've been trying to call you for a few days now.
Oh, really? We must have been off track, I responded, trying to sound cooler than I was.
I want to see you again, but I gotta work in a couple of hours. Can I stop by your house on my way?
Yeah, sure, I agreed casually as my heart pounded against my ribcage. He already knew what neighborhood I lived in, so I gave him specific directions to my house. When we hung up, I raced up the stairs to put on some jeans, a fresh tank top, and re-gel my hair down into a slick-back ponytail. I walked outside just as he was pulling up. When he got out of the car, he looked more like he was on his way to a photo shoot than to work at a warehouse. He was wearing a black t-shirt over a longer red t-shirt, crisp jeans, and black boots. He had a bottle of fruit punch in his hands, and he was squeezing it. The crunching sound of the plastic wrapper brought my eyes up to the middle of his chest. He was a lot taller than I remember. He towered over me since I was only 5 feet, 3 inches. He had the creamiest milk chocolate-colored skin and a big head full of jet black waves. He had almond-shaped cocoa brown eyes, questionably thin brows, a small button nose, and big, full lips. When I looked at his face, his smile revealed perfectly arranged bright white teeth and deep cheek dimples that I found adorable. He was a beautiful guy. It was love at first sight. My mom isn't home, so we can't go inside.
That's okay. I can sit out here with you on the driveway until I have to leave for work.
Right when I plopped down onto the sidewalk, my mom's car came whipping around the corner and pulled into our driveway. My mom and sister both jumped out as if they were in competition. My mom made it out of the car first, but Hannah was the first to speak.
This must be Josiah,
Hannah said, trying to embarrass me. Yes, he is a friend I met over the summer. Joey lives in JJ's neighborhood.